went to Ryerson University, and it was a four-year conservatory program, very heavily based on the classical style of theater training, which I really enjoyed and which I really wanted to learn about. And I met some incredible artists there and some lifelong friends. I guess that leads me to where I am now.
I thought the conservatories meant like college, but is that true?
The interesting thing about Ryerson was it was like a weird hybrid. It was a very much conservatory feel, but it still had to conform to the university college structure. So, you know, in addition to doing all the things you would normally do in a theater conservatory school, you had to also take your university courses in order to graduate.
That's what I
So
was wondering.
it was a lot of extra work, a lot of long hours, a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of days where you just showed up to school in your pajamas because you couldn't you couldn't be bothered getting into real clothes because you're so tired. Definitely a strange hybrid, if that's the proper term for it. I learned a lot while I was there, for sure. We had some wonderful professors there, and Perry Schneiderman, who was chair at the time, and then he was later on replaced by Peggy Shannon. I was really thrilled to have him as the quote unquote leader of the school just because of what he's done in terms of directing and also his time at NTS. I really enjoyed my time at Ryerson. I wish I could go back and then experience some of the things that I know now and kind of infuse them into how I approach things while I was in school. But as they say, hindsight's 2020. So
Hindsight is 2020. In general, I think there are things that we want to revisit because we now understand and have a deeper appreciation for the opportunities that were presented to us back then. I mean, I loved Sheridan College. I really, really enjoyed my time there. And when I think about all of the things that were happening at me, because
yeah,
it's, as you say, it's the course load is heavy. So you're not really necessarily always there for them. Like you're present, but you're not there for them.
yeah,
So I wish I could go back and experience those things again so that I can separate and go, oh, I know that part now. I was there for that one. What
yes,
about this one? Or like
yeah.
even in elementary school, like I wish I retained my French. So then I'd be bilingual. Then I could speak just two languages.
I knew I would never live that one down as soon as it came out of my mouth. But what you say is very, very true. Especially coming right out of high school and going into a theater program. I mean, you're what, 17, 18, and then you're just thrown into the fire essentially. And you have to grow up really quick, and you have to also absorb all this different information. In theater school, the outlook that they have on you is very, very much based in they're scrutinizing every little thing that you do. So, that's so much to put on someone who's so young. So, part of me wish that I actually took some time in between high school and theater school, just so that I could have a little more perspective, maybe a little more life experience. That's a term that they used a lot in theater school.
In our lives. What are you talking
In our
about?
life,
Just in our
in our life.
lives. Just
Yes.
wait till you have a little bit more life experience. Okay, I've been living.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I wouldn't change anything I've done because it basically led to where I am now. I don't want to change the journey that I've been on because it's been fantastic.
And so when did you realize that this could be an actual vocation for you?
Oh, I don't know if there was a specific event. I think it was more a feeling, like when I described how I felt when I did improv in high school. There was kind of a feeling in university where, I was learning all these new things that I hadn't been introduced to before. And I was learning more about who I was as an artist, even though it was the early stages of that. And I wouldn't learn more until I actually graduated and experienced more work outside of the school. But there was a feeling in university where I didn't want acting to not be part of my life. And I envisioned that if acting wasn't a part of my life, that I wouldn't be happy. So it was that feeling that kind of clued me into well, this is something that I need to be doing. This is something that I have to be doing. It wasn't necessarily well, I have to be an actor for the rest of my life. It was theater. Theater had to be a part of my life just because I loved it so much and because it made me feel so good, and it made me feel alive, and it made me feel stronger, and it made me feel more intelligent. It made me feel more like myself. It was just a feeling that I had. It wasn't a specific event. And I had just told myself, well, I have to like keep going. I have to see how far this takes me and where it takes me. I wish I could like say that
No,
there was
but
just like
that's
some,
so I can understand your reason for wanting it to be something different than what your actual experience was, but that's the point.
yeah.
The point is but I'm being serious, like, that's the point. The point is that what happened for you was a feeling. I have to pursue this feeling. Something in your soul, in your gut, in your intuition, in your being told you that theater fulfilled you in a way that if you didn't have theater in your life, you'd be an unhappy person. So instead of squashing that, instead of throwing that feeling, that intuition away, you pursued it. And again, it led you to where you are now, especially knowing that it didn't necessarily mean acting. It wasn't
Yes.
that. It wasn't that I need to be an actor and what that specific thing means. It's that I need to fulfill my creative juices.
Yes.
I need to have theater specific in my life because that fulfills me in a way that I don't think anything else has and potentially ever will have. I love that you followed your feeling. I had that feeling, but I was like 4. I was watching TV and I was like, I can do this. There's something about that that I really loved. That's different than, you're in high school, you're of sound mind, and you
Most
realize
days. Most days.
well, you realize that you're doing this thing and you're like, wow, this is having a profound effect on my human being. Like
That's right.
my morality, my creativity, my imaginativity, my love, my anger. It's fueling all of my emotions in a very different way that you can put words to. And to have the cognizance to know, I need to pursue this. It doesn't need to necessarily be for the rest of my life, but I need to follow this through and see how it turns out. I think that that's more important than you think it is.
Well, well, thank you. Yeah. A lot of people describe it as the calling. People say it and you're like, oh, you have an idea of what that means. But then when you actually experience it, it's something that hits on such a deeper level than you ever thought it did. And you don't even realize it's happening to you until you're in it. It was just this calling, like a calling to action in terms of some relationship that I needed to have with theater. Yeah, I haven't looked back since, I suppose.
And what was your first job?
Oh, my first job. Well, as I was graduating university, I was lucky enough to actually go and tour 3 shows in Greece as my first quote unquote professional theater gig, as they would say, gig.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. I just want to make sure that I got that. You were graduating, and then all of a sudden they were like, hey, P.S., want to come to Greece and
that's
get your
that's
equity card?
Well, it was actually before I got my equity card, but there were equity actors on board. So what happened was it's kind of exactly like what you described. So I was in my graduating year, and Peggy Shannon, who is now the chair of Ryerson University Theater School, she basically held these auditions to be part of this project called the Women and War Project. And basically, this project entailed a reimagining and a retelling of Greek plays done in Greece, a more modernized version of these plays. So she held auditions, these were school wide, and we all auditioned. And luckily, something went right in the audition for me, and I was able to be a part of the project. And then for, I would say, a good month, we were over there in Greece, just going to different islands in Greece and performing. It was mind-boggling that I was even doing that. And I look back on it now and I'm like, that's incredible. Like I don't know if I fully understand like how awesome that was.
Well, it's
Um,
awesome in so many different ways. Like, you audition with your entire theater school. So
yeah.
4 years of actors from this program that you revere. You get a part. Not only do you get a part, but you're now going to travel
Yes.
to Greece, to the Europes, as it
The
were,
Europes, yes.
and then travel all around Greece, performing in not one show, but 3.
Three. Yeah.
Again, with a teacher or director, now chair, that you revere. Like that's hard to top.
Yeah, it really is hard to top. And I was so grateful for to Peggy and to everybody else involved in that project for allowing me to be a part of it. And It was definitely the coolest first experience that I could have had doing a professional theater gig.
Your first professional gig was with other professionals who might have had more experience than you, but you were all there together in Greece.
Yeah, man, we were
I
living it up.
love Greece. I love Greece so much.
It was a magical time, and it was full of whimsy and romance and just theater. And like in terms of the history of theater, Greece is something that you immediately think of. And to perform in some of the spaces that we performed in and to visit some of the places that we visited, it was just like this infusion of this historical energy of theater, and it was like so incredible. And I could go on for days about it, but it was just a really wonderful experience, and I'm so grateful for it.
That's incredible. Like,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode of the Blacktor Studio.
I remember one of the actors there, Matt Miller, an American actor. He came on and was part of the project, and we were sitting on the beach of Hydra, as it were, and he just kind of turned to me, and as you know, I'm a very cerebral person, and like I get in my head when it comes to my work. We're talking, and he just kind of looked at me, and he was like Andrew, just look around, man. Like you're working, you're in Greece, like this is it. Like this is the gig. You don't need to be in your head about it. Like you're here. You're here for a reason. And that always stuck with me. Like whenever you get too caught up in things, you just got to look around you and look at what is surrounding you and take stock of that rather than what you think is wrong or what you think is going awry, and just know that you're here for a reason.